good morning, Botai. Just to first clarify something I said yesterday so that it's understood well, even for children that are under the age of chinuch, the poskim write that a person should not feed them dairy after milk within the first hour. After the first hour is mutar if it's a necessary food, like we said. Unless the kid is mamash, he's having an anxiety attack and whatever it is, and the kid needs the dairy food within the hour, in which case there is room to allow it. Now, with regards to foods that are not necessarily meat themselves, meat is meat. But let's say there are foods that were cooked with meat. That's what the Shulchan Aruch refers to as tavshil shel basar, which means a food that was cooked together with meat. In Bet Yosef, he says a little bit different than the Shulchan Aruch. And Shulchan Aruch Maran rules that if a person only eats, not the meat, for instance, let's say a person takes a potato out of a cholent or whatever it is, soup, and only that, says Maran, the halacha is that after a person washes out his mouth and hands, the halacha is that he's allowed to eat dairy right afterwards. Nevertheless, all of the poskim Sfaradim say that the halacha is not like, or the minhag rather, is not like Maran writes in Shulchan Aruch. The minhag is like what he writes in the Bet Yosef, and the Rama quotes that halacha, that even foods that are cooked together with meat are considered mamash like meat, and a person will be bisari for 6 hours thereafter. That is the minhag among all of Am Yisrael. Now, you might say, what about a soup? Right, the soup. Now, a soup is a little bit different because the Rama writes that if you have chicken or meat and it's fatty, if you cook it inside a soup, the fat disintegrates inside the soup, and fat is not considered a tavshil shel basar. Fat is not considered like a potato from a cholent. Fat is considered the meat itself, and therefore many times when you are cooking a chicken soup, right, not all of the pieces of chicken in the soup or meat in the soup are lean. Many times there's fat. And if the fat cooks in there, it disintegrates in there, and it becomes mamash, a piece of meat. So over there, that's even worse than a regular tavshil shel basar. For the same reason, if you have many meat places, they fry schnitzel or cigars or whatever it is inside oil. Let's say a person's not having the actual meat. Let's say you just want to have a very common question. You want to order fries, or you want to order falafel that's made in a meat establishment where they have the same oil, la halacha al-ma'aseh, that's considered mamash. You would, even for just eating the falafel or for eating the fries, you're considered mamash meat for 6 hours, not only because it's considered tavshin shel basar, but most times fat from the chicken or from the meat disintegrates into that oil, so it's considered mamash shuman shel basar, in which case all of the poskim agree they'll have to wait 6 hours thereafter. Yom Tov.